What would you like to talk about?
Let's talk about The Dark Tower, which is a very, very, very long in the making adaptation of a Stephen King novel, or is it an adaptation of 8 different Stephen King novels? It's kind of hard to tell even after you've seen it. The Dark Tower is a series of books that King started writing in the early 1980s. The Gunslinger, Volume 1, was published in 1982. The most recent one, number 8, was published in 2012. So it's been going on for a very, very long time. And it's this incredibly complex mythos that kind of threads together the real world and the various worlds in other Stephen King books with this around this enormous dark tower of the title, which is described at the start of the film as a tower that stands at the centre of the universe, protecting it from darkness. But it's said that the mind of a child can bring it down. So it kind of has this Death Star thermal exhaust port style weakness. This enormous edifice can be brought crashing down. And when it crashes down, the entire universe is thrown into jeopardy. And the person who wants to bring it crashing down is the man in black, who's played by Matthew McConaughey. Now, he is using this mind of a child technique. He has this eerie concentration camp style setup where a lot of children, he will harvest their screams by strapping them into these dentist chair style apparatus things.
And, it's Monsters Inc., sure.
Well, this is the question. Is it Monsters Inc.? Is it Star Wars? What's kind of going on? And what is going on is that this has been an incredibly difficult series for people to adapt. I think it was first tackled by J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof many, many years ago when they were working on Lost. They looked at different ways that they could possibly get this very, very complex, involved mythos onto the screen. Ron Howard as well, I think, worked on it for 5 years or something. And the idea was going to be there was going to be a number of films, 2 or 3, interspersed with TV series that would somehow bring this enormous world to life. The world is kind of on 2 tiers in the film. So you have what's called Keystone Earth, which is the world as we know it, and also Midworld, which is the magical world in which most of the film takes place. And this is where the Dark Tower stands. And it's the world that Matthew McConaughey's Man in Black character calls home. And it's also home to Idris Elba's character, who is the gunslinger Roland Deschain. And he's discovered by a young boy who wanders through this Narnia-like portal from the real world, whose name's Jake Chambers. He's played by Tom Taylor, a young actor who has dreams. Sorry, he's not a young actor. The young actor is called Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
Jake Chambers is this troubled boy, very much in the Stephen King mould, who has these strange dreams and visions of this tower, of Matthew McConaughey's character at night, and he draws them down. And, as a result of that, he attracts the attentions of some rather unsavoury forces. He escapes with them through the portal to meet Idris Elba's character, and they have this kind of surrogate father-son relationship going on as Idris Elba, who's the only person in this world who is capable of protecting the tower anymore. He's part of this weird old order of gunslinging knights. Now, this is, as you can tell when I'm trying to explain this and waving my hands around the place, it's a very, very complex and involved mythos. There's elements of Arthurian myth in it as well. Supposedly the guns that Idris Elba's character uses were forged from the remnants of Excalibur. The idea that you've got a man in black versus a gunslinger, it's kind of tapping into Western archetypes, but making them mythic and, overblown and massive. There are also references to lots of different Stephen King films. This psychic ability that Jake Chambers has is called The Shine, which is obviously from The Shining. The portal number for Keystone Earth is 1408, which is from 1408. And there's another one as well. There's the
Carrie in there?
Abandoned Carrie. Not that I spotted, but there may well be something in there. There's this abandoned theme park as well that they discover with Pennywise on it, which is referring to It, and of course there's a film adaptation of It coming very soon. You can probably tell from the way that I'm describing this that it is a complete mess, and the film basically just doesn't add up. What I think has happened, the director that eventually took this on was Nikolai Arcel, who made A Royal Affair, brilliant Danish period drama, back in 2012, I think it was, and then went to Hollywood to take on a big budget project, and this is what it was. The process of adapting it has been so difficult that they have ended up, I think, because this is what's on screen, with a lot of scenes that simply don't connect together. You have set pieces which you're watching them and you think, theoretically, this could be taking place in an interesting film, but it isn't. And then the move from one set piece to another, there's just no continuity in it at all. Scenes just stop and then completely different scenes just start with no connective tissue between them. It's kind of like if you've ordered a washing machine and you open the box and inside there's the metal drum and a bit of door and maybe 3 feet of rubber hose and a Persil liquid tap. And you're like, well, look, I can see what you're getting at. But not only is this not a washing machine, but it's inconceivable that you would even think it would be a washing machine. This is not what anybody wants. That's what you're watching in film form. And when you look, even, the characters are incredibly badly defined, but the reason for that is that it seems as if a lot of the dialogue has been re-recorded, new lines put in to try and stitch together a story from what they've got. A lot of the time, Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba are talking with their backs to the camera. Sometimes in one scene that's shot over Matthew McConaughey's shoulder, I am certain that they have re-articulated his lips with CG to sync up to new dialogue that they've recorded, just in order to fasten these scenes together. Now, that's kind of the impression that I got from watching it. That may or may not be the case.
Yeah.
But the fundamental truth is the film is not in a releasable state.
It sounds like there's so much story there that what it could well have been is the thing that HBO should have done when Game of Thrones finishes, in terms of giving it something that could breathe and you could actually, glorify in these worlds and give them time to breathe and expand and explore stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and there's, to the extent that the film does that, in the individual scenes, it is interesting. They find this sort of old worldy village where there's people living who can help. Idris Elba can kind of turn to them for help, and there's a mystic there who is able to draw out Jake's psychic abilities and things. And it's a kind of an interesting environment. But there's just no sense that it connects up to any other part of the story. And the fact is, the alarm bells always start ringing when you have a final confrontation between two people standing at either end of a corridor who don't ever make any kind of physical contact and could easily be in studios on the other side of the planet. And that's basically how this film shakes down. There's a sense that it has just been assembled from stuff that has been swept off the floor.